Hi guys! We are going to explore, during this introduction to Pandas, how you can read Excel and CSV files. Furthermore, we'll explore how you can also pick up data online, such as from Wikipedia, and HTML data. Okay, in order to start, let me present the three types of files that you must have in your folder. You must have three files. The first one is an Excel file, composed by two worksheets. The second one is a basic Excel file. And the third one is a text file, also called a CSV file. If you look at this file, the first file that you are going to open and to read through Panda is an Excel file. This file is composed by two worksheets, sheet 1 and sheet 2, with 4 different columns and different datas. The second file gonna be another Pandas files, but this file gonna have different unusual rows, and we'll have to ask Pandas to select this column as a header. That's gonna be the challenge. Once we will open this file, the third one gonna be a text file composed by 4 columns, and we'll try to read it. Okay guys, enough talking and let's start. As usual, we are going to start by importing NumPy and Pandas. Thing that we are going to do, we are going to import the table sample pandas A. As you can see, that's an Excel file. So, the first reflex is gonna be to use the function pandas.readExcel. I'm gonna provide you the link next to the video. As you can see, if you want to call data from Pandas, you have to type pandas.readExcel, type your arguments, and then add different parameters. Okay? And in terms of parameters, you have different ones. You have IO, you have sheet name that we are going to use in order to specify that we want to read data from sheet number 1, the header, the index column, use column, data type, engine. You have multiple parameters that you can choose, and you have just to pick the right one. Okay, let's start by importing our first data. So, as it has been specified, we are going to start by typing pandas.readExcel, and the first thing that we need to use inside is the arguments. If you go a little bit down, as you can see, the argument is going to be the name of the file. Let's type it. Let's up and let's execute it. As you can see, by default, Pandas is going to bring the files based on the sheet number 1. And now, for instance, if you want to pick the files from another worksheet, you have just to type an extra parameter, which is going to be the sheet name. So, let's specify the sheet number 2. And as you can see right here, now, Pandas picked up the data from the sheet number 2. Again, if you want to pick the data from the sheet number 1, you can just jump from sheet to worksheet just by changing the name of the sheet name. Okay? Now we have just solved the first challenge, which has been to be able to jump worksheet from worksheet and upload the data. The second type of data that we are going to upload right now gonna be to upload the sample pandas B table. What you're gonna do now, you're gonna copy and paste the same path, but we are not going to need the extra parameter, and we are going to type sample pandas B table, open, and as you can see here, you have some dummy data, and the name of the column are wrong, which means that what we want that the row number 2 gonna be chosen as the header, and we want to remove all the three first rows essentially. In order to do so, you can go inside the function and you will see that you're gonna have the function which is gonna help you to skip rows. So it's gonna be this function, this parameter. Essentially, how you call it, you just have to type skip rows, row to skip, and you have to bring into parentheses the number of rows that you want to skip. Okay, what you're gonna type, sorry, not between parentheses, but you have to define the number of rows that you want to skip. And in this case, what we want to skip the 3 first rows. If you look at the file, you will see that the row number 1, 2, and 3 are not useful. Okay, let's try now. Okay, well done. You have just cleaned the table, and now you have the Excel data in the right format, and that can be used in order to make further analysis. And last point that I wanted to talk with you through this presentation on how to download data from Excel or CSV files gonna be in the case, for instance, right now you have the Excel file inside the folder. Otherwise, if you don't have the Excel file inside the folder, for instance here we have the notebook read data inside the same folder. And what's gonna be the case? How can you import the data if you don't have the data inside the right folder? For instance, if you look here, we have our notebook, and we want to upload the data for sample pandas c.csv. What you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to type the full path name. If you have a Mac, you're gonna have to type the command, and you're gonna have to copy sample pandas xlsx as path name. Copy it, paste it, and run it. And as you can see, now the issue have been solved. Again, if you want to download the data for the pandas file A, that's gonna be the same file. Just have to remove the rows that you have skipped, and you can have the same output table that you have just right here. Yeah, the only thing that we have done, we just have specified the file name. But again, if you have directly the Excel file inside the folder, it's not necessary, but as soon as you have to bring the file from another folder, you're gonna have to specify the path name. Okay, third example is now we are going to import the data from a CSV file, which is a text file. If you are working on a corporate level, most of the file gonna be CSV files because that's less massive in terms of space. If you want to import data, you're gonna have to call the function pandas.readCSV. As you can see, that's working exactly by the same way. The first thing that you're gonna have to specify gonna be the file path or the buffer. Then you're gonna have to specify, you're gonna have different non-mandatory arguments that you're gonna be able to add. Okay, let's start by importing our CSV data. Okay, pandas read CSV, Control C, Control V, and copy. Yeah, as you remember, we don't have the CSV file inside our folder, which means that we are going to call the same folder, but instead of C gonna be up, and you're gonna have to type .csv up, and let's execute. Yeah, okay, sorry. We defined pandas as PD. Let's execute. Yes. And right here, we have imported our CSV file. As you can see, instead of having a text file, now we have a proper table. And if you want to save this data inside the function, because now you can't really use data, what you're gonna have to type and to save it inside a variable. For instance, we are going to call this variable table A equal. We are going to call the second table, which is gonna be the pandas table B. Skip rows. Quad 3. Let's execute. Okay, we are going to insert it inside the table B. And we are going to call this table C. Okay, let's execute. And now, each time that you want to explore one of the table, for instance, if you want to explore the table C, just gonna have to call your variable table C, and you're gonna have your table. Okay, I believe we have made a round about the most important challenge that you are going to face. You can always open the go on pandas pandas.pydata.org and get the documentation about it, about pandas CSV. And now the latest type of data that we want to explore is how we can pick up table online directly without having to save this data, and after all, we're going to be able to play with this table. What we are going to do right here, we are going to pick the data about Texas, but you can pick up from any type of website. Essentially here what we can do, we can just like choose a random table. For instance, we can pick up the table for the United States presidential election in Texas in 2016. Okay, in order to do that, you're gonna have to call your HTML data, and we are going to save this data inside a variable that we're gonna call wikidata. Essentially, what you're gonna have to type is pd.readHTML, execute. Let's explore what's inside wikidata. And as you can see here, you have all the table that you have inside your Wikipedia page. For instance, if you look, for instance, if you look at the electoral votes, you can see that you have your column, Mike Pence, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, the candidates, and you have all this data stored inside this variable. But what we're gonna do right here, instead of just uploading all the table from this web page, we are going to call the function match. What Pandas is saying about the function match: the set of table containing text matching this regex or string will be returned. For instance, in our case, what we will do, we will call the function match with inside the parentheses, we are going to call it presidential, and we will print the data let's call it. Yeah, as you can see, you have the table, but that's not very, like, that's not super clear. Essentially, what it's saying, you have one table with the data, but what we will do right here, we will ask, I don't know if you remember about the list, but we'll ask to read the first argument of the list, which means we are going to call the argument 0. And right here, you have your table with the percentage, the number of votes, the candidates, the party. Let's type .head. Yeah, you have the party, the candidates, the running mates, the votes, percentage, the electoral votes. And you can pick up any data from this page. For instance, if you want to pick up the racial breakdown of population, what we're gonna do, we're gonna type racial instead of presidential, and that will print all the table with the name racial. And as you can see here, you have the racial composition. For instance, if you need it for your class, if you need some data to make some analysis for yourself, this function with Panda is very, very useful. Like, you can go on any page online and you can pick the table that you need by using pandas.read.html. And that's just going to match with the table name. Again, if you want the temperature, what you can do, you can just type temperature and we will get the table with the temperature. For instance, in Houston, you have between 94 and 75 Fahrenheit degrees. In August, between 54 and 63 in January. Yeah, that's as simple as that. Okay, you will have a quiz following this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you take some learning from it. I will give you the link inside the Jupyter notebook and adjunct to this video in order to get more information about the documentation. If you have any question, feel free to ask in the Q&A. I will be happy to answer. And see you in the next video on pandas. We will use this table in order to make further exploration about pandas. And see you in the next video.